Here's the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Kyle Dubas, and the assistant general manager, Leo Dubas.
You got the order mixed up, but yeah, sure. He's definitely in charge.
Leo, how you doing, buddy?
Say hi.
Hi, Jimmy.
Say hi.
Hi,
We did this thing on TSN called the quiz, and your daddy was telling me that
Hockey players.
Hockey players.
Hockey players. See, you're really good with numbers. I'm going to say a number on a player on the Maple Leafs, and you tell me his number, okay? Or I'll tell you the number, and you tell me the player, okay? Morgan Riley. What number is he?
What number is Morgan Riley?
44.
44.
Oh, nailed it. How about Jake Muzzin?
What number is Jake Muzzin? Number 8.
8. Nailed it. All right, buddy. I'll give you one more. One more, okay, and then you can go back to Mom. Mitch Marner.
Oh, what number is Mitch Marner?
6-1.
16. 6-1. He gets them backwards, but it's all good.
Hey, buddy, you're better at 2 years old than I am now, so congratulations.
Okay.
Should we start with that, or?
Bye, James.
Okay, bye, Leo. Take it easy.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye, James.
See you later, Leo.
No, hockey.
Oh, you want to talk more hockey?
Yeah.
It's one thing being isolated for all of us. Being isolated with a 2-year-old is a whole different story, isn't it?
Oh.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been great. I think we quickly realized that we're not going to have, I think everybody that's a parent and that works is realizing that we don't have this much time ever at home and with our family. So it's been a lot of fun that way, and like pretty fortunate to be able to have that. So.
Are you going crazy though? I mean, this would have been a game day, right? You would have been playing the Washington Capitals tonight. What would you have been doing on a regular game day, and how much do you miss it?
You miss it a lot. I think all that said, it's been I think you realize the gravity of the situation and how severe it is and how important it is for us to be doing our part. I think every day you look at the calendar and it pops up on your phone, game day, game against Washington Capitals, game against Ottawa Senators, so on and so forth. So it's I think the more it goes on and on, I think the more you miss the games and the competition each day. But I think that's so far on the back burner with regards to what's happening in the world, and I think you gain a real appreciation and you feel fortunate of what you're able to do on a daily basis. So it's all good.
What do you miss the most about watching? What do you miss most about watching the team play?
I think you miss being around everybody every day, and miss being with the coaching staff and around the players. And I think with where we were at in our season, James, you really miss I think seeing the team continue to grow in the different situations we were in. It was a season where we had a lot of really good moments and a lot of really bad ones, and I think the reality is, and even having the time now to reflect on it more deeply, you realize the importance of going through those really rough moments and seeing the group continue to respond as we continue to mature and grow. So that's really the way that we viewed the year. And I think right now it's missing that to see how the group would have handled this stretch and the run up to the playoffs and then hopefully in the playoffs as well.
China's about 2 months ahead of us, and the Chinese government announcing today that pro basketball will not start. A lot of the leagues around the world have been watching China carefully and that situation. Is that just more indication of how difficult this is going to be for us to get this in?
I mean, it's so hard to project, right? I'm probably not I don't think I have the capability of answering, what the greater impact is on society and in the world and how or if we're going to be able to get things back up and running again. But I think that we're certainly hopeful that that's the case. And I think that the one thing I've learned in interacting with the league officials in this is that the health and safety of the players, the staff, and the fans is really paramount to them, and that'll always be the number one priority. So once it's safe to do so, I think everyone acknowledges and says that we want to resume the season in whatever form that is, and have a Stanley Cup competed for with integrity. And so I think we're all hopeful that we'll be able to do our part here in Canada and the United States to slow the spread of the coronavirus and be able to resume some sort of normalcy. It's just a matter of how long that's going to be.
That integrity is such a key word, and there's so many things being thrown around right now. I'm sure you're on calls with GMs and best out of fives if you started the playoffs right away and all those scenarios, possibly no fans in the stands. Do you think, in a hypothetical, the Leafs are playing for the Stanley Cup, but it's in a shortened playoff and there's nobody there? Do you think it would be strange? Would it even be right?
Oh, I don't know. It's what's right and wrong, and what feels right. I think you'd love to be able to assume that you'll return to exactly how things were, but I think as the days go by and things continue to change in the world, I think the way things were is probably behind us, and we have to get used to some sort of new normal, and that's only once we get past the continued increasing and spreading of the virus. I think for the Maple Leafs, as it stands, you'd love to be able to resume with a full building and no concerns, no worries whatsoever, and get into the stretch run, and the team makes the playoffs and you go into a Stanley Cup, and I think you can build whatever optimistic model and vision. I think that's important to do. But I think we're going to be venturing into a new set of normal with the health and safety of everybody at the forefront. And I think I know that the league will do whatever is best to check off all the boxes along the way. So that'll be the key.
I know these are tough because they're all hypotheticals and none of us know what the next week brings, let alone the next month or 2 months. So let's get into some real hockey stuff. Drake's tweeted today that the Leafs in Arizona are front runners for 25-year-old Russian free agent Alexander Barabanov. What kind of player is he, and what's his NHL potential?
I think he's not tall, but a very strong winger, tremendous skill level and playmaking ability. And we're interested in him, and I think it's openly out there that we're gonna compete for him. We're gonna try to win this recruitment and have him come to Toronto. And I think the thing that we're relying on there is the job that we have our senior director of player evaluation, Jim Paliafito, has done with regards to developing relationships with European players and college players, and then having them be able to transition to North America. Or be able to transition to pro hockey as seamlessly as possible, and that's a tribute to Jim and the work that he's done to build the relationship with the players and their agents and so on and so forth. But Alex would be for us, I think, a fit because he's a winger that's a high-end playmaker and has ability, but he's also very strong and competitive. He's played at a great program in St. Petersburg. He's going to have to decide whether he wants to come to North America and he wants to play in the NHL or remain there with a great team in St. Petersburg. And if he comes here, we see him as somebody that could step right in and contribute and make plays off the wing back to our guys in the middle or across the rink to our players that are high-end shooters. And we like how competitive he is and how strong he is on the puck.
Well, Mikheyev came in, and when he was healthy, did a good job for you guys this year. You signed draft pick Igor Florshkov. Maybe more than most organizations, there's this connection with Russian hockey and the KHL. Is there any explanation for your perhaps greater emphasis on that?
Well, I think that the league there is a very, very good league. And I think that they do a great job at really valuing the development of their players. I think there aren't as many games, so they spend a lot of time on development. I think that the season begins in early August, late July with their training camp and rolls to the end of April. And I just think that the players from there are playing at a very, very high level. They're playing at a high level of pro hockey, and they're able to come over and step right in the lineup. I think a lot of the organizations there in the KHL do a great job. We've had players from Omsk, where Bob Hartley is the coach. We've had two players from CSK Moscow come over and play for our team. And then it's not just there, but also in Sweden, we've had whether it's Kalle Rosen or Andreas Borgman before he moved on to St. Louis. We've been able to have some success in having those guys come over, and it's sort of easy to identify where they're at in their career, and then where they're going in terms of their ability to fit right into the lineup and what they can do. And I mentioned earlier Jim Paliafito, and he does really all the legwork over there. Has developed really good relationships and develops relationships with the players and the teams and the agents, and I think puts the players at ease in terms of the fact that it is a massive change in lifestyle from growing up and living in whether it's Omsk or Moscow or St. Petersburg or Novosibirsk, and then coming to Toronto. And Jim really handles all that for us, along with Leanne Henderson in our office, and then they turn them over to our development staff and our coaching staff. And it's because of Jim, I think it's just really worked seamlessly.
While we're talking about the future of the Leafs, Nick Robertson had such a great year, 55 points in 18-19, 55 goals in just 46 games this year for Peterborough. How do you describe such a quantum leap forward for him?
His mindset and his work ethic and his tenacity, James, I think is what really fuels Nick on a daily basis. I've never really come across a player at that age that has that same level of focus and attention to detail every single day and getting the most out of every single day. And not only his attention to what he's doing when he's at the rink or at the gym, but also how focused he is on his nutrition, his sleep, and just making sure that his mind is always in the right spot. And I think when you have that, very rarely, I mean, he just turned 18 on September 11th. And so he was one of the youngest players in the draft as well. And when you have that mindset, it takes a lot of us a long time to develop. It can give you the ability to take massive leaps when you're still playing junior. So I think, it's a tribute to everything that Nick does. And I think the thing that we like most about him is that when you ask him for feedback of where he's at, he's able to provide you with a laundry list of items that he wants to continue to improve upon. And I think the Peterborough Petes did an excellent job with him this year. He had a great start in the summer with the World Junior Summer Showcase in Plymouth, and then in the Czech Republic at the World Juniors. He just continued to get better and better. And his goal scoring is one thing, but it's how he's scoring the goals is the other. Not just that even strength and power play, but a lot of the penalty kill, including his 50th, which was shorthanded. And so we're really happy with where he's at, and more than anything, we really value how he feels he needs to get better at everything, and I think that's what sets him apart from other prospects at that age.
He's confident too. He told Mark Masters he hasn't ruled out playing for you guys if he could next year as a 19-year-old. How would you handicap his chances of making that roster whenever next season is?
I think it's going to be, can he continue to carry that same mindset and work ethic through the summer? Can he really do work on the areas of his game that we feel he needs to improve? And given the way that he's handled himself and everything so far, James, and how he's executed and everything we've asked him to do, if he's able to work on those things during the summer at the same level he's worked on other parts of his game, we're going to give him every opportunity to take his best shot at it. We'll play him with good players in training camp. We'll let him run with it a little bit. I think looking back on this season, one of the regrets I have in a place where I went wrong was I think we probably should have given him a few NHL exhibition games so that he had that under his belt heading into future seasons and played the long game a little bit more. But that's something I look back on and regret because I think he did earn them. And we just, at that time felt we're going to get to our pro guys and have our other players go back to junior. So we wish we would have done that, but we'll give him every opportunity this year. And if his prog, the way that he forecast it to Mark Masters is right, that'd be great for Nick.
You talk about regrets, and I'm sure there's a lot of time for introspection when you're sitting around when Leo's asleep at napping. Is there maybe three things you like? You're a precise guy. Could you maybe give me three things you learned about this hockey team this year?
Oh, three things we learned. I think what we learned is we need to continue to hone in on our mindset defensively. And we, as leaders of the organization, Sheldon and myself, need to do a better job at finding a way to have our team play the way defensively that we show we can when we're at our best. And when I reference certain games, I'm referencing the two games against Tampa at the end, the game against Pittsburgh when we came back home after they kicked our butt in Pittsburgh the game before, and we needed to respond. And so the team shows the ability to really clamp down and play great team defense. And it's not about having one, workhorse defenseman, even though, we got Morgan Riley back just before the break. I think the defense is so much more of a mindset, and it's trying to get our team to that level every single day, night in and night out. And I think that's on us to set the tone and lead the way, and really hammer home to the players how important it is, James. So
I know
that's
you're
the one
saying that probably because you've had to say that a bunch of times this season. Is there a point though where maybe they'll just never get in that mindset that they are what they are? Some nights they can do it, and some nights they can't.
I think when you show it as many times as they did, especially at the end of the season after the coaching change, where our goals against that in mid-November were about 3.5 a game, and then under Sheldon they dropped to 3, and I really think there's a process we need to go through to get to about 2.5 or hopefully lower a game in the regular season, and that will kind of feed us into the playoffs. So we're not anywhere close to where we want to go. And I thought especially in the part of the season where Riley and Muzzin were out is where the team showed the mindset to be able to get there. And different guys had to step up. You had Dermott, Hall, and the top pair. And those were the games, we were in Tampa and then back at home against Tampa or against Pittsburgh where we really kind of stepped up and showed we could do it. So I believe that when someone shows you they can do something, I think it's all 82 games is difficult to do, but I think night in and night out, the ability to do that, to me it's purely a thing of it's a byproduct of focus and mindset on the defensive end and really valuing it. And I think we have to build that valuation into our guys.
Is there a couple more things?
Yeah, there's lots. We could be here all day talking about the things that I think I screwed up. I think the other part of it is I don't think it's a regret, but there's an excitement I think amongst the players and amongst myself to go through a full training camp and season with Sheldon at the helm and talking with him multiple times a day, every day since. It's looking at the resumption of play whenever that is as an opportunity to really hammer home his principles. Like he came into the job, flew into Arizona the night the night before the game, had a morning skate, and we've been rolling ever since with very, very little break in the schedule. We've had 1 3-day break right after that first set of games. We played in Colorado, then we went to Detroit the next Wednesday where he had 2 practices in a row to work with the guys. So having that, I think, is something we're excited about, and we realize we have to take advantage of and get everything rolling that way. And I think when I look long term on regrets, I think you see the way William Nylander has played this year, and it always brings up the handling of the contract situation with him, and kind of setting him up for a bit of a rough ride last season. And you see the way he's played this season, and the way that he's grown and matured as a player, and where he's producing from, and kind of putting to bed any concerns that anybody could have possibly had about him. And you look back
when you call that a regret, that would have meant giving him more money earlier. Is that what you're saying? Or
no, I think you never want to do that, but I think just being a little bit more right from the day of really taking the job of really valuing getting that contract done. And who knows, it may not have been able to happen, but I think we kind of delayed having discussions, and that was mid-May until we had very brief discussions with his representative Louis Gross, and I think maybe if we could try to get something wrapped up by the draft that year and be able to go through the summer without any issues. But you never know. It's easy to look back and kick yourself on things, but those would be the 3 so far that we can talk about.
Okay, those are heavy duty. I'll end lightly. First of all, I appreciate the Cabot pull up. I went a little more casual today. I felt really stupid wearing the Blazers at home. So, you like the little zip ups. I figure that's inspiring. You miss your golf right now?
Golf. I've never really golfed this early before. So, I usually start the golf season for me usually comes after our player development camp in July. Right. And ends in the first weekend of September. And so I don't feel like I've missed anything yet, but
it's short, but I don't think a lot of people know how passionate you are about it.
You kind of get rolling with it a little bit. And I always say I'm going to do a better job during the season. When we have off days, places taking my clubs, but it always gets lost. And, it's Leo is starting to hit the ball around a little bit, whether it's baseball or golf. It was only hockey until about 2 days ago, and now we've worked in some other stuff. So it's great. And I'll look forward to getting back and playing whenever possible and getting the game back in as best shape as it can be, which is not always great.
Well, I mentioned your casual wardrobe because an NHL PA poll says 75% of players are in favor of a relaxed game day dress code like the NBA. Would you be in favor of that for them?
It's interesting. If you talk to the players, you get the guys that I think would like that, and then you get the other players who think that it's one of the things that sets hockey apart from baseball, where they just kind of wear their jeans and a t-shirt and every day, I think, and soccer, where they wear their tracksuit off the bus and into the stadium. So I think it's one of the things that does set hockey apart, and it's a great tradition. I have a hard time buying that the guys want to relax. Have you ever seen our players walk into the building? It's a whole
love the suits.
It's a whole show, and it's like it's they can say what they want, but I don't think they mind the fashion side of it, as far as I can tell. But whatever is decided there is decided. I know there's some GMs that would like to do away with ties as well, and so on and so forth. But it's that I'll let people with more experience and at a higher level decide those things.
Before I leave you, a little bird told me that your father-in-law has one of the great DVD collections of all time. What have you dipped into movie-wise or show-wise during this thing?
Show-wise, movie-wise, it's hard to watch a movie with the 2.5-year-old who goes to bed at 10:30 and gets up at 9:30. There's not a whole lot of movie time because he takes up a lot of our attention. So we watched the Mr. Rogers movie, which was good, and we're into Curb Your Enthusiasm is on always on a loop in our house or the office, but right now we're into Ozark and then the final season of Homeland. So we haven't got into the Tiger King phenomenon. Shannon watched a little bit and said it was very weird. So we've
very
kind of
strange.
skipped it. Yeah.
I'm holding on to the last 3 episodes of Ozark as long as I can here because I don't want it to be over. Listen, I've taken up too much of your time. Best to Shannon and to Leo.